Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for September 10th. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and with me today is Pooya. How you doing, Pooya?
Amazing. I'm very happy. Last night's episode was an all-timer for me. And now we're here to talk about the fallout. We're here to talk about the finally, we're at the six. They made it. Where are they going to go? What's going to happen? What can we expect for the next 20 days here? That's what we're here for.
Yes, we are down to the cookout. The last time we spoke, Claire and Alyssa were both in the house, but Claire was voted out in the double eviction. Then Hannah won the HOH, nominated Alyssa and Xavier. Xavier then won the veto, which meant that Alyssa was sent home, and the cookout made the final six for the first time in the history of the show. Not only has an alliance of six made it to six, but also we have six black people in the end together. Unprecedented. I don't think there even have been six black people on a season before.
No, that definitely has not happened. As far as later in the game, I did see a graphic going on Twitter. Only one black person has made it to this stage, and that was Kalia in 13. In like the last, we're talking from 12 onwards was the graphic. But so it's a lot. It's a lot. History in the making. 750K is the winning prize, and one of them is guaranteed that pot now. It's just a matter of who's going to get there.
All right. Yes, it is a matter of who's going to get there, and it's really going to come down to that this HOH competition, of course. Now, before we get to the HOH competition, when the feeds came back from the double eviction, Kyland, I don't know if this is surprising to anyone, he had some complaints about the way it went down.
He looked it on the episode when he ended up on the block and they went to commercial. He looked like he was already livid. And guaranteed, even after this, when they were supposed to be celebrating, he still has some qualms about what has gone down.
Yes, he wishes that he had Twitter so that he could at somebody, but instead he has to just go to their face and say that was not cool.
Yeah, it's like a combination of. I feel like he doesn't like that the affront was put. It's like, man, the assignment was in front of you the whole time. How the hell else did you think this was going to go? Also, you're still here. What's the problem? What's going on?
Mm-hmm. So he's upset about the fact that he went up on the block, that they in order to appease Alyssa, like, why did that happen? Like, why didn't we just tell Alyssa? He's going to complain to Tiffany and to Hannah, and he's going to talk to Big D, and he's going to get into it with Big D. Big D is upset as well because he wanted to talk to Hannah before the vote, but she didn't give him the time to talk to her. So, which is frustrating for him because he wanted to be able to cast a sympathy vote for Alyssa, and now because he didn't get to cast a sympathy vote for Alyssa, he's not going to get her vote in the jury.
These cosmetic sympathy votes, that's what's going to get you the win at the end. And I'm very sad for Big D.
It's only because of that he's not going to get her vote.
He was going to win otherwise, Taran. This one vote's going to come back to bite him. It's fleeting.
Kylan talks to Xavier and just says that he is still committed to getting to the end with him, and that basically their targets should be Tiffany and Hannah.
Yes, and they put a name on this, Taran. Would you like to unveil the name to the audience?
It's a Guy Ritchie movie, right?
Sure, we could go with that. I thought How I Met
Your Mother. It was a pretty good movie. I like The Gentleman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the name, The Gentleman. And who consists of The Gentleman? Kyland and Xavier. Definitely go ask Twitter. Is this an app name? No. My mentions are all ew, yuck when I broke this yesterday. But yeah, the fedora tipping intensifies with this name. I'll tell you that.
Very, very appropriate, in my opinion, for Kyland, especially. Yeah, I've got some thoughts on Kyland, let me tell you.
Ooh, please do.
I don't know if I'm going to say them all, but
keep some in the vault. Keep him in the vault.
Well, we get to the HOH competition. And we come back from the HOH competition, and Kyland has won the HOH competition. Kyland is the winner. He tried to throw it to Big D. But he accidentally won.
Yeah, and you might be asking yourself, how does one accidentally win? Given what we've heard about this competition, he said he was going for like a practice shot and then he accidentally made the shot, which it's one of those things of like, you could have beast mode cowboyed it and just not touched anything, but he was messing with the merchandise and messed around and won. And apparently Big D was close enough to the win that this is important.
Yes. So he genuinely. So I think Tiffany and Hannah were out first or very early. And from that point forward, Kyland was like, "This is great. I'll give it to anybody. Maybe not Azza, but basically anybody." He fully believes that Azza would not have targeted him if she won this HOH because he has a massive ego. And so he was looking to throw it, and he it was, I guess down to him and Big D or something along those lines. And he says he was practicing in case he needed to. So I don't think it was like elimination in that kind of sense, but I maybe like they were just far behind and Big D was in second place or something along those lines. But he was I guess practicing in case he needed to do something, and then he accidentally just landed it and won.
Yeah, and they did mention eggs, so obviously the immediate thought is, was it the chicken coop competition? That could be it, with a variation of they had to shoot something at the end, which we've seen obviously where they rolled the egg down the thing. So it could have been a combination of the two, something like that is what I'm assuming. But yeah, what's interesting is that with regards to Azza and Kylan, right before the feeds get cut for the comp, because we had a good like hour before the HOH happens with the feeds just being on, and he talked to Azza and they essentially said, "Are we still good with our thing of not targeting each other?" And Azza was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Well, if you believe this, you're a dummy, but go off." And obviously he wins now, so that don't matter all that much. But yeah, so I think it was some kind of egg related competition with like the chicken coop and the cage and the aiming thing. So
he apologizes to Big D. He tried to throw it to him. Big D said, "It's okay, it's okay." And they agree that Tiffany's going home this week. There it is.
Yeah, that gets mentioned there. And then if you find yourself watching and you were like, maybe it's just a Big D, it's going to get more sad as we go along here if you thought that was the case.
Let me tell you guys up front here, there's not going to be a lot to the night. Kylan says that he is not going to do one-on-ones until tomorrow. So because of that, he only does very brief little meetings with people just to basically give them an idea of what his plan is. And he also talks to the cameras. But beyond that, it's just a lot of, HOH room reveal and hanging out, kind of celebrating, talking about, the cookout's success and stuff like that. But not a lot else going on through the night.
Yeah, so if you were looking for your strategic fill, this night was not it 100%. I feel like it was a lot more relief and just chilling. They talked about some stuff that clearly they wanted to talk about before, but they've not really had opportunities to all be there together. So it was more like putting everything out in the open, which was actually a lot of fun to watch. So if you do have some free time today, I do recommend checking it out. It's just easy consumption. But Kylan decided, hey, Pooya and Taran, I'm not going to make you do all the one-on-ones tonight. I'll leave that for the Saturday morning person. So Saturday morning person, good luck. It's all you. But yeah, it was like we got little snippets though, but it also kind of confirmed everything we already knew after this conversation.
So Kylan talks to the cameras, and he explains that he didn't mean to win, but he says he knows what he needs to do. He says, "I genuinely don't know if X and Azza will keep me safe this week, but I want to get to the final two with the best player. And I think that's Xavier." And he runs through. He's like, okay, thinking about. Okay. He says, first of all, he doesn't he hopes that Xavier won't turn on him before the final two so that he can get to the final two with Xavier. He's thinking about like, people like Dan and Paul, like they were devious the whole way through, right? So you would have known that they were going to betray you, because that's how their games worked, is that you knew that Dan was going to betray you, and that's why you let him do it. So obviously that's how that game is played. So hopefully Xavier doesn't stab him in the back, but he could. But he wants to get to the end with Xavier. Once he gets to the end with Xavier, he's like, okay, so then I think I would have Brittany, maybe not Brittany. I would have DX. I would have Claire. I would have Tiffany, and I would have SB. So I just need one more. I just need like Derek or something like that, and I can do this. Yeah, you definitely have Claire, the person who said to your face, I am not voting for you in the final two, especially if you're up against Xavier. Then told everybody in her eviction speech, give him the $750,000. You definitely have Claire. You're definitely going to have Tiffany after you evict her this week. Yep, definitely. You're also definitely going to have Sarah Beth after you betrayed her and she told you you're an idiot if you take Xavier to the final two. You definitely have Derek X, who also told you that Xavier was playing the best game and is definitely going to vote. Yeah, you definitely have all those votes.
So many misreads in such a little time. And all for what? All because Kylan, for some reason, wants to sit against the best player, strongest player at the end, which, he could take Xavier, he could take Tiffany. I don't think he realizes that. But 4 hours have passed between him winning this HOH and Claire literally standing up and saying, this is what I'm saying. I'm voting for X to win. He's playing the best game. If you keep him over me, he's getting my vote. And then left without hugging any of you. So how much more clear could she have made it? Maybe she had to write it on her forehead with Sharpie. Maybe that would have helped out. It's wild to me. It's wild to me that this is the read he has, because this is a losing read. Like he said to the cams, I feel like if I lose, it's because I won this HOH. No, if you lose, it's because you're going to misuse this HOH and you're potentially misreading your entire game right now. And that trajectory you might not be able to recover from.
Yeah. Now, his reasoning, I believe, is basically Claire doesn't know why Xavier has been. She thinks she wants to vote for him because he's been safe, but what she doesn't understand is that the cookout exists, and once they know that the cookout exists, they're going to understand that that's why Xavier was safe. But he's wrong. He does not understand how humans work, I think. And look, I don't think it's impossible that Kylan could beat Xavier. I do think he could beat Xavier, and I think it's possible. I think that his reads on these jury votes, thinking that he has the people that he has, he'd be very lucky to get those people. He's vastly overestimating his chances of getting to the end. He's also vastly overestimating his chances, of winning in the end. He's also vastly overestimating his chances of getting to the end at this point. Because once Tiffany and or Hannah are gone, Azza is coming for him, unlike he thinks. At that point, who does Hannah go after? Probably Kylan. I don't know. Like, does she still go after Xavier at that point? I don't know. But I think Xavier also may go after Kylan at that point. He's taking a path that is very difficult to get to the end here.
Yeah, and I do think if he, let's say what he's saying is fact, that once they realize that it was a cookout thing and not an Xavier thing, he might be able to change that, right? And let's say that he's in a position where he thinks he can convince people on finale night. You and I know, and we've complained about this before, that the finale, they give him no time to talk. Kylan needs every second he can get to talk. And I feel like that's going to be a big, big crutch in his game if he's in a position where he can't and will not be given enough time to explain himself and try and convince the jury otherwise. So I do think that's going to be a pretty big problem for him. should he sit at the end with X, especially if people have this preconceived notion that X is way better. And we'll see how everything shakes out once all the information is out, once they have the whole piece of the pie of like what the information is and who played better, whatever. He's not dead to rights, right? He's not drawing dead at the final two, but he has an uphill climb to go through. And I don't know if the time's going to be kind to him that night.
Mm-hmm. And here's the thing about Kyland. He has said all of these things. He has said that he wants to go to the end with the best player. That alone is ridiculous. That alone is I have no respect for your game if that is your game. All right. But he has also said that that he thought Tiffany was the best player up until around the time they started canoodling. Last week. Yes. You know, he just feels like now he feels like Xavier's the better player, and he does not have as much respect for Tiffany's game.
Yeah, how did that change? I don't understand.
Mm-hmm. So now he would like for Xavier to go to the end with him, so Xavier can win the game instead of her, right? You know, I think that Kyland could easily win this game. Like,
map it out.
I think that if Kyland, first of all, I don't hate taking a shot at Tiffany, but I don't think it's the right call. I think that that Kyland should take the shot at Hannah, or even Azza. Hannah or Azza. Azza is the best shot because Azza is definitely coming for him if she wins. Xavier could go after Tiffany over Kyland still at this point. So if he leaves Tiffany in the game, then Xavier still has Tiffany to deal with. He could take out Azza and leave Tiffany and Hannah versus Xavier. Xavier still has them to deal with. And he could easily go to the final three with a combination of Tiffany and somebody else that's not Hannah. And Tiffany might even take him. He could take whoever else is there if he wins. I think he has a very good chance to win this game if he was trying to win this game.
So would you argue that maybe the best thing to happen to Kyland's game is if Tiffany does win this veto and remains in the house?
Yes.
That's wild. That's wild that for his game to go right, someone else has to save themselves, and he's going to be none the wiser. And he's going to be upset about it probably, but okay. All right. We'll see, Kyland. Mm-hmm. We'll see what you got.
So, I mean, this is what I was saying yesterday on the Stockwatch stream, that like for Kyland, the best case scenario is that Xavier and Tiffany get evicted by people that aren't Kyland because Kyland won't do it. Because then Kyland is forced to actually do what's in his own best interests.
Yeah. He needs other people to look out for him than him looking out for himself, which is pretty funny. But yeah, it's pretty interesting now. It's pretty interesting where we're at now. It's wild. I think the wildest thing to me in all of this, aside from the fact that he is so dead set on going to the end with, quote, the best player in the house, is this not targeting Azza thing and believing that him and Azza have this truce. You're at final 6. What makes you think that anything is valid at this point with Azza? It's such a misread to me. And like, am I crediting Azza for missing him, or am I crediting Kyland for being dumb on the read? I don't know.
I mean, I think that Azza has done a fine job of saying, I agree, Kyland. I will not come after you. But I think that this is primarily Kyland thinking that he walks on water and can convince anybody to not target him. And he's like, well, she's not gonna. Okay, she's not gonna target me then. I mean, maybe she would, but I think maybe she wouldn't. I mean, she has said straight up, like, there's zero chance I'm gonna put up a woman on my HOH, and everybody knows that, but except for Kylan.
Yeah, I do think someone in the chat mentioned that she does have the honest reputation, which is a good shout. I do think that probably helps it a little bit. And I think his ego of him kind of probably believing that, well, Oz is not going to win anything because she hasn't won anything yet, does soften the blow for him where he probably doesn't think or take her as much of a threat. So.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, this is it, Kylan, and this is why this is a ridiculous decision to me, because Cody taking Derek is a ridiculous decision, but you can kind of understand, like, they are best friends at that point. He doesn't want to turn on his friend. They have the relationship that exists there, that genuinely he was like, this is what matters to me more than anything else in this moment. Kylan has said straight up, I don't have much of a relationship with Xavier. I haven't talked to him all that much this season. But I think he's the best player, and therefore I want to go to the end with him and lose to him because I want to be the Cody and I want to be asked back.
He has mentioned he would like to come back. He would like to set himself up to come back for the next time. If I'm him, who knows if this 750K is going to be permanent? I would go for the win. At this point, y'all got to the 6. That's amazing. Go for the W now. That's the only thing left for you to do. Go for that damn W and solidify 750K. That is not a bad bit of change.
This is, to me, so the idea is I want to, in his mind, potentially, but probably lose this game to the best player, but he got the best player wrong. This is like if Cody was like, sorry, Derek, bro, I can't take you because you don't deserve the win. I need to take Frankie. I need to take Frankie to the end. He's the better player. I need to lose to him instead. Or like if Wu in Survivor was like, I got to bring LJ. LJ's my guy. I got to bring LJ to he's the best. I got to beat the best. Yeah,
it is very much a mystery. It's just fascinating to me because when Kylan won, I found myself, trying to do the exercise of who's going to be put up. And I had a feeling Hannah was 1000% going to be put up. She just put him up. He was salty about that. I feel like I don't see a stronger connection with her for him as with anyone else. But then I just thought, okay, let's say he's going to protect the guys. I genuinely thought he was going to put Azah over Tiffany. I feel like this is the big thing for me, is that I genuinely do think that since SB's gone, Tiffany is better for his game. Now, if Tiffany would have won, could he have touched the block? Maybe. But I feel like he wouldn't have been her first target, unless I have that wrong. But I don't think so. I don't know. I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated at how this week's going to go with Tiffany on the block, because this will be the first time we see Tiffany on the block. So it'll be the first time we see Tiffany in a position where she has to do some campaigning. And if it stays the same and it's against Hannah, I'm actually pretty keen to see how that'll play out. Not keen to see any of them go, but I'm keen to see how both of them play navigating the block.
Yeah, and like when it comes to like what's potentially changed Kylan's mind, I think you're looking at Derek X was like, I want to target Xavier. I think he's in a good spot. I want to target Xavier. And Kylan was like, Xavier's not the best. I mean, he's not the best. Come on. And then Sarah Beth was like, Xavier's a better player than you, Kylan. And you're an idiot if you take him to the end. And Kylan was like, Xavier's a better player. Likability is unearned. Don't even understand that. And then Claire is like, no, you're dumb if you take Xavier to the end. It's like, you don't even know. Like, you don't even like, okay. Like, people have been telling Kylan that Xavier is a better player than him. And they've been telling him that he should target Xavier, that they want to target Xavier. And he's taken this to mean that Xavier is the best player, when he should take it to mean that Xavier is the player that a lot of people want to target, which does not usually equal the best player.
Yeah, that doesn't equate 1 for 1 at all.
Yeah, just because people are saying he's a better player than you doesn't mean he's the best player, Kylan.
Yeah, it's only if you rank yourself as number 1. then yes. But if your self-evaluation, you're number one, you're wrong. Sadly.
And the sad part is to me that I actually do think that Kyland is a better player than Xavier. Or at least could be, if he wasn't the kind of player that would then tank his game for being the best player or going against the best player.
Yeah, no, I feel like both with Kylan and with Xavier, we've seen this season where they've had very high highs where we're like, okay, you look like you're about to be top of the food chain. You've situated yourself well. You're doing well with the connections. But then we've also seen no one but themselves kind of push themselves down the power rankings. Xavier last week was a good example. Kylan has had many moments of up and downs, hills and valleys here. So it is very fascinating to see them constantly give themselves adversity to deal with to then climb back up on.
Yeah. So Kylan's going to talk to Azza. He says, "Hey, I want to extend our Final Four deal to a Final Three deal." And she's kind of curious about like, okay, well, who is then going to be the fourth person? Like, what is this going to look like? And they kind of say like, we'll talk more about this later in the one-on-ones, but don't worry, I'm not putting you up.
If I have a Final Four with someone and then they want to extend it to Final Three, knowing that the next step is a Final Two, and if I'm not part of your Final Two, then I'm the one you want to kick out at three, I'd be a little bit annoyed about it, and you'd be on my radar for sure. But I would agree regardless, but I would only care for it if I felt like I was going to be shaky to get to three. If it gave me confidence that I'm at least at three, that's different. But I'm like, just give the two, bro. Like, what's missing? Well, that's not going to take anything off your plate. Just give the two.
Yeah. I mean, he said the problem is he's already told her, you would never believe me if I told you that I wanted to take you to the Final Two, nor would I believe you if you told me that you wanted to take me to the Final Two.
Then why are you taking them to the, like, why is that? You can't say that and then be like, but come with me to Final Three. I don't think we're going to take each other, but just come with me. Why? That's so dumb. I don't like
that. Kylan talks to Tiffany, and he basically says, like, we're going to have a long conversation tomorrow where we lay everything out. Lay out everything that we've done and we get everything on the table. We're going to have a big conversation. And she tries to let him know, like, I'm taking you to the end. And he's like, yeah.
We're good. Everything's smooth sailing. Everything's nice. Also, I want to say that any one-on-ones with Kylan pretty much happened in the hallway between the have-not room and the hallway between the hallway in front of the HOH room, and that little dark room is where everything went down.
Yes. He also talks to Hannah. He says he's not going to say anything right now. They're going to have bigger conversations tomorrow, so on and so forth. Similar stuff. He also talks to Xavier and tells him he's going to be putting Tiffany and Hannah on the block, and that Azza would be the replacement if one of them won the veto.
Yes. So big question here for us to mull over. If Azza wins the veto and takes one of them off, either Hannah or Tiffany, he's putting up X, right? Between X and
I don't
Big
think
D?
so.
You think he's putting up Big D?
Yeah, I think he'll put up Big D.
That would actually be wow. Okay.
He'll put up Big D, and then Azza and Xavier would vote out Tiffany or Hannah, whichever one of them stays on the block.
Yeah. Wild. What? Okay. All right. See, that exercise alone should give you an indication of why Kylan is hurting his own game. Because he wouldn't even put Xavier on the block because he's worried about losing Xavier, and he's not trying to do that. He's not trying to have that happen.
The best player in the game that he desperately wants to reward with the win is the one that he has had to protect multiple times, including this week.
And let me do another exercise here, right? So if I'm Kylan and I'm like, okay, I can. The jury will know that it's the cookout operation, not Xavier. How is it going to look when it's finally the six of you? And Xavier somehow didn't touch the blocks initially. The veto got used, still didn't get renommed, and was the only person that was entirely safe without having to win a competition. That looks like mastermind movement to them.
Yeah.
You can't convince them otherwise there.
The only case Xavier would ever have for being the best player in the game is by saying that he has completely snowed Kyland into being like like just I will do whatever it takes for Kyle for Xavier to win this game. Like if we give him credit for that, if we say that Kyland is so easily manipulated by Xavier, then we can say maybe he has a case to be the best player in the game. But I don't think that's exactly what Kyland is going for.
I do not either. I do not. It's actually wild. It's really, really interesting how Kylan's operating with this information. Again, I want to reiterate that I don't think he's drawing dead whatsoever. This is still Final Six. There's many more competitions to go. He can rack up the resume on a physical standpoint. Someone else can clip X before they get to the end, and he's still at the end. So he is by no means drawing dead. I just think that for his quote optimal final two to be X, if we're looking at all the information in front of us and start to predict what's going to happen, in that scenario, it's not looking good for him.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it. I mean, Big D's going to talk with Xavier a bit, just like they hope that Kylan's head is in the right place. They think it is, that he's going to be targeting Tiffany for them, which is great. And things are looking up.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see about that. Looking up.
Yeah. Kyland also does apologize to Big D about like their little thing earlier when he was complaining and all of that. Big D's fine with it because, again, he's taking out Tiffany, which is what Big D wants.
Yeah. They had a very interesting up and down last night. Because initially there was some anger there, some misinterpretation when the feeds came back right after the double eviction. And then when the feeds came back again after the HOH, it was Big D being sad, which is a recurring theme at this point. Big D being upset about losing yet another comp, but he felt closer about winning this one. And then Kylan came in, and Kylan started like feeling very emotional about the fact that he took it from Big D. So then Big D was comforting Kylan, which I thought was funny. In his moment of sadness, he has to console Kylan. But the only person that was told essentially you are completely safe is Big D last night. So to give you an indication of where they're at now.
Mm-hmm. So there you go. That was pretty much the night. I mean, again, there wasn't a lot here from the night that they're we're gonna get more one-on-ones that I'm sure will be quite lengthy. Kyland even said in his camera talk, he was like, I'm always open to new information, but I'm probably not changing my mind. So these conversations are not going to matter.
Yeah. No, they're really not. And that's the thing with getting down to 6. It doesn't matter how many one-on-ones he takes on. There's really not many variants that he can go through, and he found one that he really, really wants to do and really likes. The one other thing I wanted to bring up potentially for anyone that wants to go back and watch some of the stuff from last night is there was a very fun moment where Tiffany reveals to the cookout that she was the second vote that first week, and they lost their minds. They had no idea. It was a lot of shock, a lot of like, wow, you really didn't tell us any of this. So that was definitely fun. Go check that out.
Mm-hmm. I remember when Kyland way back when in like week 2 was like, all right, I've got 2 guesses. I've got to guess who those votes were, and are Christian and Alyssa actually a thing? And he thought that the votes were Big D and I don't remember. He thought maybe Tiffany, but he ultimately thought maybe it was somebody else. And then Christian and Alyssa were not a thing. Said this is a good indicator of how good I am at reading people in the house.
You really roasted him again? Like, all right, another moment to highlight. Yeah, no, they really did lose their minds on this, which was a lot of fun to watch. I mean, honestly, it was very nice. Last night, they were around the kitchen and they were deciding who is which food item at the cookout. And you should have seen Tiffany's face when Tiffany was told she's the mashed potato. She was like, "No, I'm macaroni and cheese." And they were like, "No." She's like, "Why not? Why can't I be macaroni and cheese?" She was so upset. But not the mashed, sorry, potato salad. Potato salad was the one that she was like big no on, which ultimately Hannah was like, "I'll be potato salad. That's fine." Those were fun. It was very fun last night. Yeah.
There you go. So that's basically what we have for you here. As the week progresses, it's looking like it's very unlikely to me that anybody other than Tiffany or Hannah will be going home this week. If Tiffany wins the veto, it will be Hannah. If Hannah wins the veto or anybody else wins the veto, it'll likely be Tiffany. It doesn't seem particularly likely that she will be able to talk her way out of it, although she may have a couple of decent arguments depending on what she puts forth. Hannah probably being a slightly bigger comp threat, but I doubt that will be enough, especially because of it's not really why they want her out at this point. So I guess there's also a small chance that this long conversation between Tiffany and Kyland ends in him changing his mind. But the difficulty here is that Tiffany needs to, I guess, convince Kyland that she is a better player than Xavier, more likely to beat him in the end than Xavier, in order for him to not go after her, which is the complete opposite of what any good player would do. And it's the opposite of what she has been doing. She's been the one trying to get people to convince Kyland that he loses to Xavier in the end, which has completely backfired and made him want Xavier in the end more. And even though she understands that he wants to take the best, she, I think, doesn't fully realize just how committed he is to losing the game.
Yeah, in a weird way, it's almost like all of these, hey, let's get Xavier's name out there. With Kylan specifically, it would have been better if Claire got up last night and said, Tiffany's going to beat all of you. And Tiffany's got my vote and blah, blah. I mean, I'm joking because, like, that's ridiculous. But it's weird that might have worked on Kylan. But so interesting thing here is I feel like...
Genuinely, I think it would have been better.
Which is insane. To even speculate on that would have been better is wild. But hey, this is Kylan's world that we're living in right now. So I think with Tiffany, there's two things, right, that I feel like would be on her agenda. One is survive the week and not and try and get off the block. I think that should be the primary focus. Trying to push for Xavier to end up on the block, I think that's a lost cause. I just don't see it happening. So what she should do is just self-preservation mode and try and survive into next week. And I feel like Tiffany, obviously, we know has the tools to do that. I feel like Hannah has that. Like, they're both really good players, and they both have really good arguments and capabilities. So to see them go head-to-head, while it would be very sad, would be interesting. But it's just a matter of, can any of them sway Kyland? And I would be concerned about that because he has made it clear that nothing's really going to change for him. And this is the same player who a lot of things kept changing for him in the past. So if he's set in stone, that's a very wild place to be.
Yeah, I think probably the best chance she has is to say, look, Kylan, you say you want to beat the best and be in the end with the best. Why the hell are you taking me out now then? Why aren't you going to the final three with me and Xavier together? Why aren't you taking out, Azza or somebody else who is obviously not as good as me at this game? Why are you stepping in for Xavier to take the shot at me? Why not let me and Xavier battle it out ourselves to determine who's the best? What are you afraid of? Again, it's not going to work because Kyland has his own ideas about his own things. But I think that's probably the best pitch she could make. But it's such a weird pitch to make. It's such a weird pitch to make.
Yeah, I think you combine them naming their alliance the Gentlemen, and then also later when they met up, one of the first things they said in jokes was like, "Hitman who?" I think Kyland wants to be he wants that new title. He wants to be the two guys that made it to the end, and I think he believes he can win right now, which would be enough reason for him to do so. I think ultimately with Tiffany, it's just a matter of is he going to get convinced that keeping Tiffany for himself between final 5 and final 3 is good and beneficial. That might be the only way for him to sway. But again, I just don't see it, especially because he's made these promises with Azza now. He's good with Big D. I just don't see it. But if anyone can do it, it's Tiffany. And this is probably Tiffany's biggest test to date. So we'll see how she manages to do that.
Yeah. Not looking good. Not looking good. I don't expect anything to change here. Tiffany likely going home. And that's going to be the end of her story. But the cookout is still something that I think that we can all celebrate here, as they have made the final six, and it's impressive stuff.
Yeah, I think no matter which direction we go, we will always have day 65. They were trying to decide yesterday whether day 65 should be what they title all this, or 9921 or 2199, which was the date which they completed this. We have that. So I'm very happy that we have that going for us, and I'm very happy about it. So one other scenario, Terrence, someone in the chat brought up, is if Kylan puts up Tiffany and Azza because they've never been nommed, and then Hannah wins POV and takes down Tiffany, then he has to put up Big Deal X and the girls have majority vote. That would be lovely, and that would make sense if he wants to make sure that both of them touch the block. But this deal with Azza is somehow wildly binding. So that's never. I don't think that's.
Well, he knows that Hannah has a good chance to win the veto and would take Tiffany down. So that's one of the reasons why he's putting Hannah up next to Tiffany. He's not going to not put Hannah up.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm telling you this, it would be very interesting if Azza was to win. But also, now that we've discussed that at that scenario, and Big D would go up and probably stay, it's just a sad scenario to talk about. So.
I mean, it's it is the way it is at this point. It's the way that Kylan wants to play this game, and we'll see how it works out for him. So there we go. That's what we've got.
One last thing.
Okay.
If it wasn't Kylan as the HOH, we would be looking at a Derek F HOH, right? I feel like that would have been worse. Or would it have been worse?
I mean, Pooya, let me tell you, this is amazing. I mean, this is, we have gotten like back to back to back to back terrible HOHs. From Sarah Beth to Claire to Tiffany to now Kylan. We have gotten people who have been making absolutely terrible decisions for their games consistently. I think this is the biggest stretch of terrible HOHs I've ever seen in the history of the show.
Yeah, just fumbling, and here we are. Yeah, I guess ultimately, again, we just remember day 65. Any of us get frustrated in this next week, just repeat to yourself, day 65. We got day 65. We didn't know we were going to get it. We got it. And we'll just have to see. We'll have to see. I'm fascinated, infinitely fascinated by this season, and I can't wait to see how everyone works this week out, because they had their night of celebration. Now it begins, and we'll see how they all play it out moving forward to this week and how they start navigating the end game.
Yeah, and I did forget about the double eviction Hannah HOH, which I, honestly, again, for the game, terrible. Now, Tiffany and Hannah, they had bigger intentions with their HOHs, but if you're looking strictly at the game and Hannah goes out this week or next week, obviously it was not the right call to take out Alyssa, who thought she was in a final two with Hannah. It was going to bring her to the end. So,
that moment on the show when Alyssa was like, so that 2 was BS, huh? It's like, ooh, no, Hannah. But yeah, well, listen. Whichever way we go now, right? Outside of DF, and I drafted him in the RHAP draft. Outside of DF, probably Azza right behind there. Anyone leaving, it's a position of like, well, it's sad, but everyone's got to go. I'm not mentally prepared to say goodbye to Hannah or Tiffany at all. I think I would have been more mentally prepared to say bye to X or Kylan potentially this week. But the sadness is about to come. I just got to mentally prepare for what's happening.
All right. Well, that's what we have for you today. Thank you for joining us. I will be live with Rob in just a few hours with the patron Q&A. If you want to hang out with us, call in, ask some questions. We'll be hanging out, having some fun. Tomorrow morning, I'll be live again at 11 a.m. Eastern to update you on everything that happens today on the Big Brother 23 live feeds. We'll update you on these one-on-one conversations Kylan is going to have. What kind of reaction Tiffany might have to Kylan's betrayal. And that's tomorrow night, or tomorrow at some point, we've got a Circle podcast talking about the Circle. Pooya will be there as well. So tune in for that. And that's what we got. You can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong, hanging out there. We'll be playing some Among Us on Sunday. And I'll be live watching the episodes with you guys, as always, throughout the rest of the season. You can find me on Twitter as well, at Armstrong Taran. Pooya, where can people find you?
People can find me on Twitter at Pooyaism. They can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Pooya. I will be live tonight at 11 p.m. With the pads to come through. Join us, throw a follow. All those good stuff. And then for podcasts, 90 Day Fiance, I had Kirsten on with her first impressions of 90 Day Ever, which was a very fun listen. So definitely go check that out over on the 90 Day Wrap Ups feed. I was also the guest on Sasha's podcast, the Love and Hip Hop Atlanta Wrap Up, which was a lot of fun. That was my first time diving into that show. I went in completely blind, and I loved every bit of it. It was great. You've already talked about The Circle. I've only watched the first episode so far, so I got to catch up, but I'm very excited about that as well. And I feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh, yeah, I did the Survivor Countdown, number 2, Cagayan, with Rob and Dave Jorgensen the other day, which was... Oh, yeah, we talked all about Wu and the mistake Wu made to go to the end with Tony. And are we going to see a repeat? Find out. We'll find out at the end of the season. But that was really fun with Rob and Dave Jorgensen, so I really did enjoy myself there. And The Masked Singer is coming back in 12 days. And I'm very excited to get back in that with Liana, so definitely go subscribe to the Masked Singer Wrap-Ups page as well. And I hope you have a good weekend, everyone. It's going to be fun, okay? It's going to be fun. We'll see how the feeds go. And hey, if we're upset, there's too much content out there right now. And now with the announcement of Celebrity Big Brother, like Taran, there's not going to be a day off. There's always going to be something to watch here. So
there's still cause to celebrate. I mean, the cookout made it to 6. That was like, if you were a Tiffany fan, that was her goal. She knew what she was getting into. She thought she was going to go at 7. She didn't. They got to 6. And that is definitely cause for celebration. And also, we are continuing to get entertainment here as we get these bad HOHs. So things are not that dire. But that's what we have for you. Thank you guys so much for joining us